So how's your arm, John?
Oh, it's getting better. It's getting better. I told somebody the other day I was going to file a claim with BP. If they hadn't fucked up my golf, I wouldn't have been out there doing all that editing. Would hurt my arm.
That's right. Well, I think BP ought to just pay the American people something.
I agree. There's going to be people on the Gulf of Mexico that 20 years from now will be buried, still waiting on their claims. So, 5 months ago yesterday.
Well, that next weekend, not the weekend right after, but the next weekend, me and you was on Dauphin Island.
Yep.
Waiting on it to get to Alabama.
Yeah, it was funny because it never did exactly like we expected it to do. I was expecting there to be an oil slick on the beach.
Well, that was that storm coming in, blowing it, coming northeaster, I mean, it was supposed to be blowing it up on there. That's what they said in the weather forecast. And it weakened and died in the Gulf. It did not happen. So we were sat there waiting. I was on Fort Morgan today. It made landfall finally on June the 4th on the Alabama beaches. And then it just started pummeling those beaches. And it came and went. And there's some serious reality going on down there right now. Both environmental, health issues, and economy crashed.
Now that it's capped, everybody seems to think that the Gulf is okay and everything is back to normal, and that nothing can be farther from the truth. There's no way that what I saw out there over that period of from May until late July, every flight I took was complete coverage. I mean, there was oil everywhere. There's no way that that disappeared. There's no way that that could have miraculously been eaten by any kind of microbes. We watched them dispersing it. We watched the ocean change colors. In the last video that I did, I made mention of the fact that the surface had changed colors, that it was no longer those bright colors.
Right.
That's when this stuff was hanging down under the water.
Right.
That's when Philippe Cousteau and his crew were diving in it and showing us the beads of oil under the water.
Right. And there's now teams of scientists from Mississippi to Georgia to Florida who have documented that, and those stories have run.
Oh yeah, but where the stories have run, the situation hasn't stopped. The stories need to continue because every day somewhere on the Gulf Coast now we have a fish kill. We got people on the Gulf Coast now that are getting sick. We got people that are self-evacuating.
That have been sick.
In large numbers.
Yeah.
Silently, they're not making a lot of fanfare about it because if they do, they can't sell their home. They don't want their entire neighborhoods to crash around them. They don't want to become enemies within their neighborhood. So they just silently slip away, but they're sick. I have a friend who was recently away from the coast for a while. She got over all of her headaches, became healthy again, feeling good. She went back down there, and the other day went out to Little Lagoon, where the police were blocking people off. There was a strong smell of chemical in the air. And today she has a scratchy throat. She has serious headaches again that are constant. They're not letting up. We're not being told the truth.
Right.
The for-profit media is not going to go down there and bite the hand that feeds them.
There's too much pressure to try to not crash the economy, even though it's already crashed. BP's spreading the advertising money around.
Well, see, that's part of the problem, is where BP is spreading all this money around. They should be, in fact, taking care of those people's health and welfare. They should be helping people.
Why are they not? Why are they not just paying people and cleaning up the problem instead of running advertising and trying to keep people off beaches?
Well, it's very typical of the way corporate responds to disasters like this. If they come out and pay these people off, then there's an admission that there really is something wrong.
Right.
And then they're culpable.
That's why they give them hard hats, not respirators.
Exactly. respirators send an immediate visual sense of fear, whereas Bob the Builder wears a hard hat. So they don't want to scare off the tourist by wearing these respirators. They don't want people to see that it's bad. You can't see bad air, but you can see when people take protection against bad air, and that's bad for the corporate image.
Bad picture.
Exactly. So why are we still having oil coming up in Bay Jimmy? Why are the marshes still covered up with oil today?
Because it's going in and out on the tide. It's still there.
If it's capped and it's gone,
yeah.
and they can't find it on the surface, where's it coming from? What I saw that's now under the water.
And it gets turned over and it'll come back up.
I know you saw the video, whales and dolphins covered in oil.
Yeah.
Recently I got an email from a Coast Guard officer who said that he was out there that same day and was doing video at the same time we were, and in fact he thought he had our airplane in his video. When he landed, the film was taken away from him and it was locked up. Something bad happened during that time frame. That's the only time we ever saw that many dolphins in distress. We saw a whale.
Well, that's when it hit them. That's when it hit them, and that's when most of them died. Most of the wildlife in the Gulf of Mexico, they will never have a body to put into the legal case to count it because it's dead at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
Thousands of fish of all varieties are dead out there, and there ain't no doubt about that, and we'll never be able to count that. We'll never match up to the Exxon Valdez count the way it happened there, because they washed ashore and workers got.
What we saw out there that day, when all the dolphins were really in serious distress, we saw the whale that was covered with oil.
Yeah, they're there.
That was the last day we saw any life in the Gulf of Mexico.
No, you caught the moment, because that was it.
We couldn't see any life anymore.
Yeah.
Until you got in close to the barrier island. And then you would see these big sharks that were feeding close to the beaches in really shallow water. This is not normal to have that number of sharks that close to the shores.
Well, the fish were running in. Some stories about that, how the fish were running in.
The bait fish were running in to get away from the low oxygen, and the bigger fish followed them in.
And also the birds were escaping it. I did the story on that, how where all the wildlife gone, and they were moving inland and shit. Yeah, they were running. They obviously run from that, like any living creature would.
There's still a serious absence of birds around the bayous and all in southern Louisiana. It stands to reason the population is depleting, which is exactly what Dr. Ricky Ott told us when she came down here from Alaska. She said, you're not going to see the big fish kills this year. You're not going to see a massive exodus of any particular fish, but what you will see is in the next 2 to 3 years, your species are going to begin to decline. And some species will completely go away. Herring in Prince William Sound today still have not come back. And you can still go kick a rock over in Prince William Sound and come up with a handful of oil. The point in all of this is that
it's a cover-up.
They're using goon tactics. They're using the same thing they used on us in Kingston, Tennessee, at every national disaster that we've ever dealt with.
Sure.
Suppress the media, suppress the information, and control it by, in this case, by the criminal, by the person or the entity that's created this situation is controlling all of the information.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Let's citizen activists challenge it, and independent journalists on the web challenge it. That's what they're going to do. If it wasn't for guys like you and guys like me that are willing to go down there and challenge them, democracy doesn't work. Am I right?
Oh, I know.